Hey guys, it has been a wee while since I have been here on the channel. It has been pretty much a year and I do apologise for that. Life got really lifey last year. The first part of sort of like the spring and summer was spent pretty much working exclusively converting my van into a camper, and then life stuff happened sort of like from the summer onwards. There was health problems and other personal life stuff happening. So basically the garden has been neglected for a couple of years, pretty much. We grew very little last year. We grew kind of our usual onions, garlic, potatoes, tomatoes, and that was pretty much it. It was the bare minimum, and the garden has really been neglected and has suffered a bit for it. So this year I'm much more enthusiastic about growing stuff and really cracking on with some more long-term projects in the garden. So I think I'll start with, I will show you what we've been up to so far this week, and then we will move forward with the rest of this week's projects. I have moved us into the greenhouse first because it's quite chilly this morning and I think it's threatening to rain. Hopefully not, because I have some outside jobs I want to do today. So in the greenhouse I have quite a few things growing so far. We also have a cat. She is not growing. She is fully grown, but she loves it in here because it is nice and warm in here now. So I'll take you through what we've done so far. So we already have a good amount of our tomato plants in here. I grew all these from old seed. I wasn't sure how I would do germination rate, but I set these up in my grow station that I made last year and they did really well. These were planted out into here, I think it was, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, and they are doing really well. We're growing them quite close this year simply because I grew way too many tomato plants than I have room for in here. John also added some leftover Tyvek from when we did the roof to the lower part of the walls in here. The boards at the bottom of the greenhouse had opened up and there were gaps, and it created quite a bit of draft for new plants in here, so that's doing a really good job. We have plans for this side of the greenhouse to put a large bench, full depth here. We found things don't grow very well down here because they don't get enough sun, so we're going to raise the level up and we can place grow bags on there for things like cucumbers, peas, things like that, and grow them much higher up so they get all the sun from the plastic. It does get a little bit of blocking from the trees at the back, but it's not too bad. So far in here we have a lot of very leggy brassicas. I never do very well with my brassicas, they always go leggy. But I do have green pointed cabbage, Brussels sprouts, purple cabbages, and I did actually buy some purple sprouting broccoli plants yesterday when I was in town. There was just 6 plants in here. I was going to grow them from my seed, but I thought, I saw these and I thought I will just buy them. 6 plants is plenty for us. I also bought some cucumbers yesterday because I don't have any luck growing cucumbers from seed. I have 2 crystal apple and 2 fern spot. Those were the only varieties I could actually get from my garden centre, so I bought 2 of each of those. I have purple French beans growing in these pots. These were just done yesterday. Green French beans, purple French beans, runner beans, self-pollinating. They're the Moonlight. We never have much luck with runner beans, but I am trying to use up a lot of my old seed, so there is a lot of bean seeds this year. These are a great deal, a great many tomato plants. We grew our tomatoes from the seedlings that kind of just popped up in the greenhouse last year from previous years. They were self-seeded and they were really lovely tomatoes. So John kept, I don't know, about 3 or 4 of them that were kind of super overripe, and I planted them just by squashing the overripe, half-rotten tomatoes into a 6-inch pot all over the surface, and I ended up with dozens of tomato plants, and I just planted them in little clumps out into these little mini pots, which are brilliant. I need to get another one of these trays. So these are a crossbred variety that were just really nice cherry tomatoes. So what I'm planning to do is some of these will be planted out in this bed when it's been tidied up, and some of them will actually go into grow bags on the bench at the far end, and I will no doubt be giving some away as well. We have strawberries, the ones in the black pots. These are from our original strawberries we've had for several years now, and these 3 here I picked up at a community garden when I was away on holiday a couple of weeks ago. I just split what I thought was 1 plant into 3, and they're looking really nice and healthy. No idea what the variety is, doesn't really matter, they are strawberries. We have leeks in the back that need pricking out, and I have a few different flower seeds at the back. I also have planted courgettes and squashes in those, and over here I have many tree seedlings, saplings, that I also picked up from the community garden. So I have, I can't remember if this is, I'm not sure if this is alder or beech. I think it's alder. We also have some, what I think are acer trees that were in there. And I also have a rowan and a hawthorn. These were all in one big pot full of tree saplings. And at this side I have a rowan, mountain ash plant in there, another big alder, an acer that I picked up in B&M, Hebe, I think this is clary sage, sycamore, a nectarine, which is doing really well, that I grew from a really tasty nectarine pit, and I think, if anybody could tell me what this is, this I think was in a pot from my in-laws' house, which had other trees in it. To me it looks like a lime, which would be kind of cool, but I'm not sure where to plant it if it is a lime, but I think it's a lime. So that is what's going on in the greenhouse. I also have a plum tree that is finally, the buds are kind of sprouting. I got this as a bare root tree from Tesco's, and I planted it in its pot without soaking the roots initially, and it did nothing. So I pulled it out, gave it a good soak, and repotted it with some bone meal, and it finally seems to be sprouting. So this will be replacing the plum tree we currently have in our fruit bed, and that other one will be getting moved. So there's been quite a bit going on in the greenhouse over the last few days. It has been quite nice weather, so I wanted to get out here, although it was a bit hot at times. So what else? I have some outside things that I have done, and I have more outside things that I want to do. So it seems to be brightening up a bit, so we'll pop out there and hopefully it won't be too cold or too windy for the camera. My tulips are looking really pretty this year. I planted a load of new tulips, and yes, they're all kind of like dotted individually, which never looks brilliant when they're this far apart, but I'm hoping next year will look even better. But they're really pretty. I've been planting a whole bunch of willow whips this year. We have a real problem with wind in the garden, ruining all our plants. So the front garden is through there, and I plan on putting a lot of trellis work structure there as a windbreak. And on this side of the wall I planted a lot of willows to make a willow barrier to help diffuse the wind again over the top of the wall here. It passes over and then just blows crazy through the front garden. So I did that last week, and then if we go, we're in the chicken run at the moment, hello chickies, if we go to the other side of the run, John put these pampas grass in that he picked up from a friend. I hate pampas grass, but he insisted on it. It's one of the few things that actually can survive up here. So wind barrier, obviously. I've also planted a lot of willow whips on the boundary of the chicken run, and it goes all the way along this fence line, about 3 or 4 feet from the fence line. I've done a double row of willow whips, and if any don't survive, they can be filled in next year, but hopefully a good amount of them will get established all along here to create a windbreak for the back of the house and for this part of the garden too, I suppose. For the willows, I just took cuttings as wide as I could, really, about finger width, although a lot of them aren't, because willow doesn't kind of grow the same in Orkney. It can be a bit spindly. But I just took as many cuttings as I could and put them in. Just poked a hole in the ground, shoved them in. Most of them do take. The wind can knock a few of them back, so we shall just see how it goes. But I will just repeat the process next year for any gaps, and I will probably do some more along this fence line here. But we have, we're replacing our central heating system this year with oil. I know, wrong time for doing so, but we currently are on coal, and our central heating system just broke down a couple of months ago, so we're replacing it with oil, and we need to put things like pipes in, and then I will put willow away from where that trench is, obviously, but for ease of access I've not put those where the trench is going to be dug and such like. So that's another job for next year, and then I will also fill in the gaps in my planting from this year. I do have big plans for changing the layout and the landscaping of the front garden. I want to put in more beds, more kind of height with shrubs and trees and structures and such like. I think it's going to be a process that might take some time. I think my first job will probably be sorting out this step down here into the garden. I want to put a proper step here. I rolled my ankle stepping down here a few weeks ago, so I want to widen this and put a proper solid step in, and I want to widen this bed and put in some sort of arched structure or gap here, and extend this bed to make it feel so it's not just all one big garden. And then our fruit trees down here, every year they get filled out with honesty, which I let flower because the bees love them. Well, once these start to die back, I will be able to access this plum tree. This plum tree here has never borne fruit. It is a Victoria plum on a pixie rootstock. The problem with it is it always sprouts from the base below the graft, which you can't really see down there, with all of these pixie rootstock branches, and nothing I've tried has stopped it from happening. So my plan is to take this tree out. Obviously I will dig a big hole around it, and I'm going to replace it with the plum tree that is in the greenhouse. This tree, which is a nice big established tree, I will place elsewhere. I will possibly use that as part of my height building situation going on in the front garden. And also we usually get a lot of columbine, aquilegia seedlings come up in here every year. Once they start to show, they will be lifted and they will be placed elsewhere in the garden. A lot of our aquilegia in the garden has come out of there, where it has self-seeded. I have come back in the greenhouse. It is cold in that wind. It is supposed to brighten up this afternoon. I have a cat moving the tripod. So this weekend I want to get my carrot seeds planted. I have 2 packets of carrot seeds. One I have bought just from, I don't know if I got it from Lidl's maybe. I also have a packet of carrot seeds from last year that I ordered. And I know carrots are really bad for germination rate for more than a year old. So I'm going to put basically the whole packet in. I'm going to sow the old packet really thickly, knowing that the germination rate is going to be really bad. And then the new packet I will obviously sow thinner, and it will fill up my carrot bed. But before that, I need to make some adjustments to my carrot beds. When we built our raised beds down the vegetable plot, we made them way too big and not very strong. We just used, I think it was 2x2 and sarking boards and they bow really bad. John did do some structural work on a couple of them a couple of years ago. My carrot bed isn't too bad, although the wood is definitely starting to give way and is starting to rot. My plan is to salvage as much as possible. So my carrot bed, all I'm really going to do is, if I need to reinforce now, I'll do it before planting. Otherwise, I just want to seal the boards. They were never sealed. So I've bought some Danish oil to put a coat of that on, just to prolong the life of these a bit better. So I need to add Danish oil, I need to plant my seeds, I need to net the bed to stop the cats going on the bed and digging up all my seeds. So I'm just waiting for the weather to properly brighten up and not threaten rain, and then I can get out there with a brush. I've never used Danish oil before, so I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to it or not, to be perfectly honest. I imagine it's going to be messy, but I could be wrong, but I suspect it'll be messy. John is currently working on the brakes of the Land Rover, but hopefully when he has finished that, he has the other raised beds in the vegetable plot to do this weekend. We have 3 potato beds that need some serious work and potatoes to plant, which really should have been in by now, but the weather has been terrible up until really recently. So those beds definitely need some shoring up and repair work, and then they can also be oiled and planted up with our potatoes. We have 3 or 4 varieties, I'm not sure. I did buy the seed potatoes 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe longer, and I don't remember what I bought. I don't remember what I bought. I did label them, but I don't remember what I bought. I know we have some pink fir apple we saved from last year. We have some Lady Crystal, which we saved from last year, and I bought 3 varieties from Shearers, the general merchant in town, and I don't remember what I bought. So that'll be a nice surprise. Anyway, so far this video has been very chatty, so I think I need to get some work done, because sitting here talking to the camera is not progressing far on the garden. So the sun might be trying to come out, but down the veggie plot it is cold. We have a northeasterly wind, and with the sun seems to have picked up, so it is cold, cold, cold. Anyway, I have got to get these carrot seeds in whilst it's not raining. We have got some rain forecast tomorrow afternoon, I think, and which will be good because the carrots need to be pretty much watered every day. With the wind here, it just dries all the topsoil out. And certainly when it's not raining, it's definitely going to be dry. So last year I bought St. Valerie carrots from Real Seeds in Wales. I'm going to plant out the whole of this packet because it's from last year, and plant it thickly. And I also picked up this. I thought I picked it up from Lidl's, but I must have got it from the garden centre. It's a Fothergill's seed packet, and it's Extremo F1. I don't normally buy F1 varieties, but they were limited on what there was, and they seem to suit our needs best, and these are this year's seeds, so I will plant these thinner than these ones. I want to get the seeds in first before I put Danish oil on the boards of this box, because otherwise I'm going to get covered in oil on my clothes when I'm leaning over to plant the seeds. So best get those in first, and then I can do the oil, and then I will water the seeds in afterwards once the oil is on, so the water is not going to stop the oil absorbing into the wood. I ended up sowing the old seed really thickly in the first 4 rows, and the newer seed very, very thinly. In fact, I didn't quite have enough seed to do the last row, which is probably not a bad thing because the end of the bed usually gets swamped out with the rhubarb plant that's at the end of the box. Actually, last year I think I only made 1 rhubarb crumble from the rhubarb because we still have so much rhubarb in the freezer stewed from the previous year. We just don't get through it quick enough. You can't give the stuff away up here pretty much. It grows very, very well, and most people who have got a big garden of any size kind of have rhubarb in the garden. In fact, there's places where it grows wild up here. So maybe I will just pick this stuff really, really young. It's quite thin at the moment, so maybe I could just pick it as really tender rhubarb and use it when it's small, and then won't get overwhelmed with it. Anyway, so that's the carrots planted. So now I'm going to get myself a jam jar or something and a brush and look to start painting some Danish oil on these boards. I'm not even going to bother cleaning them up or anything. This is kind of to prolong the life of these, and I'm not spending too much time on this. I just want it done whilst I've got the time and whilst the weather's dry enough to do it.